Hi. What's up, fam? Brandon Walker. More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast, presented by SEC Country. I am definitely not chewing the remnants of a breath mint right before we went on the air. Boy, that's hot. All right, let's see who we got today. Everybody checking in this morning. We got UMass this weekend, Mississippi State against UMass. We got a lot going on. Mississippi State's women's ranked in the AP Top 25. I have made a couple of alterations to the set right here. You see that? Had enough of you guys complaining about the helmet. Just too much complaining about the helmet. So it is an old helmet. So I'm going to go, this is more cowbell. We're just going to go cowbells on the desk. That's what we're going to do. We're just going to go cowbells, and we're going to do it like that. I like it. I think it looks a little cleaner. Those are two beautiful cowbells, and we'll go from there. Greenwood is here. Two Greenwoods in a row, actually, are here. Macomb, Mississippi is here. Weisinger Small Engine Repair in Bovina. If I ever need a small engine repaired, I'm going to Weisinger in Bovina, Mississippi. Mobile, Alabama is here. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Brandon is here. No, I'm Brandon. You don't know what you're talking about. Farm Country in Lone Oak, Arkansas. Good to have Lone Oak, Arkansas. Madison, Greenville, Roswell, New Mexico. Obadiah, Mississippi. Again, another made-up town. Starkville, Meridian. Hello, Meridian. Hello to all my friends in Meridian. Simpson County is in the house. Hickory Flat, Mississippi, up in the northeast corner, I think. Laurel is here. So we'll talk about Mississippi State and Alabama. Is this a year to start thinking about it? If it's ever going to happen, will it be this year? I don't know. We talk about it every single season, and it hasn't happened yet. But will Mullen ever beat Alabama? We'll definitely dive into that. We'll also talk about the narrative around Dan Mullen, how it will continue to change, how it has continued to change, how the media and fans are realizing now he's not going to Florida, so the media will just roll on to the next job and insist that he is miserable in Starkville, so he has to go to XYZ job. And even though he hasn't gone to ABCD all the way through X, Y, and Z job. So they'll continue to shift that. We've got a 2-minute drill that I've got questions from you guys. Some are good, some are terrible. Little Rock, Arkansas is here. Walker Village, Mississippi is here. Dallas is here. Brent Walker checking in. Hey, Brent. My sister's moving to Dallas. Do you know that? She's moving to Dallas next month. Alabama will have 2 losses. I don't know about that. I don't know who's going to beat them. I don't know. Hail State from Port Charlotte, Florida, down there in spring training baseball country. Speaking of baseball, I really wanted to watch that last night. I did. And I watched the final out because it's a World Series. I need to watch it. People have said it's exciting. Baseball just takes too long, man. It just takes forever. 92 pitching changes and 89 commercials, and Joe Buck I hate listening to him announce baseball games. It was just hard to watch. Us in Auburn, well, maybe. Liberty, Mississippi is here. Powder Springs, Georgia. Powder Springs somewhere in Georgia, I believe. Us in Auburn will beat Alabama. Well, that's that is an opinion. That is an opinion. Could happen. Could very well happen. They need to play 7 innings instead of 9, maybe. Why is no one talking about Mullen possibly taking the Florida job? Kenny, I think you're messing with me. That's what I think. I think, Kenny, you are outright messing with me, but you're a friend of the show, and you can mess with me however you like. Heidelberg, Mississippi is here, down in Jasper County, I think. Simpson County is here. Pearl, Mississippi. Zach Morrow says everybody hates Joe Buck. Well, I don't know if everybody does. I mean, he does every game that Fox ever broadcasts. I don't know how he does so many games. I can't watch him. Hamilton, Mississippi. Webster, Mississippi. Webster County. Yeah. He won't. It's not happening. That's what Brandon Halford says about Mullen to Florida. I agree. Mullen's not going to Florida. Mullen's not going to Tennessee. When the Texas A&M job opens, people will say he's going to Texas A&M. I would worry about that one more than the other two. When the Auburn job opens, they'll say he's going to Auburn. I wouldn't worry about that one either. Hail State from Seymour, Indiana. Gina Stedman Clarity is from Seymour, Indiana. Florence, Mississippi is here. I have a new tool when I put my podcast up. I have a tool where I can look. I can drill down and see exactly where all my listeners are. And 70% of my listeners are from the state of Mississippi. I got a lot in Texas, a lot in Georgia, a lot all over the place. But when I open up Mississippi, Florence, Mississippi accounts for 30% of my listeners in the state of Mississippi. I don't know how that is. Florence is not that big. I don't understand it. Doesn't make sense. The smallest percentage of my listeners are in West Point, by the way. How depressing is that? Ugh. Point City. Mullen should come to Brazil, Ignacio DeMarco says. Thank you for checking in from Brazil today. Niceville, Florida, one of my favorite towns on earth. The Niceville Eagles football team. They wear maroon and white just like we do. Rocky Bayou Christian School Eagles down there. Are they the Eagles or are they the Knights? They might
sounds nice there.
It is. Oh, Terp. Stop that. It is nice. It sits right on top of Destin. Right on top. It's separated by the Choctawhatchee Bay. And you hear F-35s planes all day. Pensacola, Florida, another beautiful town. Another beautiful place. Houston, Texas, home of the world champs. Dilly Dilly. Oliver McLeod, no, I did not find out who Dan Register is, and I don't care to. I did look at his tweets. That guy doesn't have anything to say. That guy doesn't have anything to say. Terp is super reverby today. You were reverby. It was a hot mic.
Yeah, I turned it down.
Thank you. It's still
better?
Nah, still a little loud.
How about now?
Okay. Florence is a great little town. Nice place to raise a family. I have some UCF friends that aren't happy with Frost going to Florida. Yeah, I think Scott Frost might be the guy at Florida. I think he might be. I still wouldn't rule out Chip Kelly coming somewhere in the SEC. Nobody says it's going to happen, but I just wouldn't rule it out. Arlington, Texas. Hello, Arlington. Good to have you. We're going to talk about Mullen. We're going to talk about Alabama. We'll talk about, who else will we talk about today, Terp? The 2-minute drill. Mississippi State women finishing or being ranked 7th in the AP poll. I've spent all year telling you how terrible the AP poll was for football. And then Mississippi State, the team that finishes 2nd in the country last year that beats UConn, is picked 7th with almost everybody coming back. What a slap in the face that is. Florence would be great if you didn't have to get on Highway 49 to get here. What happened to Ole Miss against Arkansas? Well, they lost because they're not a very good football team. I meant to check to see if we could do a bedtime story today. Let's do that now. Let's see if my favorite website has anything that just sticks out to me, Terp.
Okay.
No, don't. Stop talking. Stop. No, not really. Not really. They're not very active lately. I don't know. Something has happened to Ole Miss people that they're not nearly as delusional as they used to be. Well, I take that back. They're not nearly as vocal as they used to be. Still delusional. All right, what else we got here? Let's start in about 3 minutes, Terp. I gotta say one thing, and I haven't seen this guy show up yet. So I don't know if he's there. But I have made a mistake. This beautiful cowbell right here, this beautiful thing made of, I don't know, what do you call it? Silver, chrome? I don't know. It's a beautiful piece of metal. It is one of my favorite possessions, this and that. Those are my two favorite possessions right now. I thought it was sent to me directly from Battle Bells, the company in Calhoun City that makes these beautiful cowbells. I mean, you really have to hold it in your hand to realize, how great it is. But I thought they sent it directly to me because it came in a box that said Battle Bells and it had no note attached. But I was contacted by the owner of Battle Bells yesterday and said, no, we did not send that to you. Stainless steel, thank you. We did not send that to you. We thank you for talking about it and glowing about it, but and I will continue to glow about it. But they didn't send it to me. A guy named Steve C., who I often see on this Facebook Live, he sent it to me. And he didn't put a note in there. He didn't, make a big fuss out of it. But this one, Bonnie Williams and Gable, this one, Steve C., who is often in this Facebook Live chat, he sent it to me. So thank you to Steve. I appreciate that. You're a great friend of the show, and this we really love this cowbell right here. It really sets the whole thing off. And Bonnie Williamson Gable again sent us this one, and we thank you for that. All right. Is a turtle as bad a mascot as a land shark? Yeah. No, not quite as bad. Not quite as bad.
Nope.
Colorado is watching you, Shrek. Thank you very much, Lloyd Wilkins. Please don't call me Shrek. It hurts my feelings. See, my wife has joined, so my kids are watching everybody. Why are we still looked at as a stepping stone school for coaching positions? Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't the SEC equally divide the monies as being paid out during bowl season, meaning the athletic budget increases yearly? So our athletic budget is much, much bigger than it used to be, but it's still not, money-wise, there are still teams that have more than us. However, we have enough to pay any coach whatever he wants. So that the basement has changed, the floor has changed, the ceiling and the roof are still very, very high. Land Fish, nice Battle Bell, thank you. Battle Bell, Calhoun City. I talked to the owner last night, and he was a very, very, very nice guy. And we sorted that out, and I'm now going to charge him $200,000 for the advertising. So look to get a lot of money in my pocket soon. I'm very happy about that. He's the 14th highest paid coach in the country, Lloyd Wilkins. Yes, you're right. He's way up there. He's way up there. What's your score prediction for LSU and Alabama? Alabama by 30. Alabama's going to boat race LSU. I'll talk about that later. You and Terp in a game of one-on-one in basketball. Who wins? Score. I win. The score is 21-0.
So false.
Terp, you just don't understand what you're talking about.
I would beat you, no question.
You don't understand what you're talking about.
Let's do it then. Let's play.
You have no idea who you're talking to right now.
Brandon Walker.
I'm Brandon Walker. Junior Ray says Alabama 35, LSU nothing. I would go with that. I would say like 38-7, maybe 38-6. All right, that's enough. That's enough small talk. I'll be back to talk to you at the end of the podcast. We will talk about whatever you'd like to talk about today, and we'll have a good time. Terp, are you ready? I said, Terp, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Always.
Maybe a little quicker next time.
Well, I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, let's go.
The More Cowbell Show, brought to you by SEC Country. And now, your host of The More Cowbell Show, Brandon Walker.
That's me, Brandon Walker, More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SECCountry.com, coming to you from the beautiful SEC Country Studios in Dunwoody, Georgia. So excited to be here. Terp is here. The entire gang is here on the other side of the glass. They're doing a great job. I'm doing a phenomenal job out here handling the microphone, as I usually do as the host of More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast here on SEC Country. Today we're going to talk about the Alabama game. Yes, I'm looking over the UMass game. I'm guilty of that. Sue me, okay? No, don't sue me. Don't sue me or Willie Gay or Leah Lewis. Don't sue anybody. Anyway, I will talk about the UMass game later, but right now, first and foremost in my mind is that Alabama game. Is this Dan Mullen's best chance against Alabama? It's a question we ask every single year, and it is a question we will ask every single year until Dan Mullen beats Alabama. It's a fair question. Is it his best chance to beat Alabama? We will get into that shortly. Also on the show today, we'll talk about the UMass game. We'll talk about what's coming up. We'll talk about what I'd like to see. We'll also talk about the narrative around Dan Mullen. It appears from my vantage point that Florida fans, Florida media are realizing Dan Mullen to Florida is probably not going to happen. So that means the narrative is over. That means the national narrative about Mullen wanting to get out of Starkville is over, right? No, it doesn't. It just means the narrative will move on to the next team. It means the narrative will move on to Tennessee and then Texas A&M and then Auburn when it comes open. It'll just move on to the next team. the national media will never let go of this idea that Starkville is terrible and Dan Mullen is miserable there, even though neither of those things is even remotely true. And at the end, we'll do a 2-minute drill. I've got all your questions. Some of them are awful. Some of them are awesome. I'll let you decide which are which. First, holiday cash. You need it, and I know where to get it. MyBookie is the place to score serious cash on your sports predictions. Believe it or not, the holidays are just around the corner. While that means plenty of parties, gifts, and spending, it also means there's lots of football and basketball. And you can score big on every day. Man up and play like the pros on game day. You can play the money line, side, or total. MyBookie is your hookup for all your betting needs and offers super fast payouts when you win. Where you bet is just as important as who you're betting on. And if you want to make money betting the games, you got to go to mybookie.ag. They're the only site I'd recommend. I trust them, but you don't have to take my word for it. Go check them out. Join now, and MyBookie will match your deposit with up to a 50% bonus. Use the promo code Cowbell to activate your offer. Again, Cowbell for this More Cowbell show. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid. Now, State plays UMass this weekend. We won't really worry about that for right now. We'll just put that to the side. Let's just assume that Mississippi State, who has handled A&M on the road, who has handled Kentucky at home, who's handled LSU at home, who has looked really good at times this year, is going to have enough firepower to beat UMass. We'll discuss that a little bit later. But if that happens, when that happens, Mississippi State will be 7-2. And Alabama coming into the game next week will be, I believe, either 8-0 or 9-0. I think 9-0. Once they boat race LSU this weekend, which is what they're going to do. So Alabama will be coming in number 2 in the country in the College Football Playoff Committee's poll, number 1 in the AP and the coaches poll. State will be coming in probably around 15 in the College Football Playoff Committee poll, and then, a little bit disrespected in the others. But we have circled around to an event like this several times during Mullen's tenure. Several times he's had a good team. Several times he's been going up against an Alabama team that it would make a huge statement if he won, that would really kind of be a program changer, that would do all the things that happens when you beat Alabama, except in the exception of a school that we won't mention right now, which beat Alabama twice but had to cheat massively to do it. Now, Mullen hasn't done that. But Mullen has a chance with this team. Anytime you get on the same field with somebody, you have a chance. So Mullen has a chance with this team. And he's 0-8 against Alabama. That's the elephant in the room with Dan Mullen. You look at his resume, there's one thing missing at Mississippi State. That's beating Alabama. And that if you beat Alabama, you put yourself in position to possibly win the West, possibly win the SEC. Until you beat Alabama, you don't put yourself in position to do that. So all those things are connected. But that's the one thing he hasn't done. He's beaten LSU. He's beaten Auburn. He's owned Arkansas recently. He's owned Ole Miss during his tenure. He has owned the SEC East during his tenure. He has elevated the Mississippi State program. He has put it in a position of prominence for an extended period of time, something that has never really happened. He just hasn't beaten Alabama. And I don't really think it's that big of a deal that he hasn't beaten Alabama. I do think it would be a big deal if he did beat them. But I don't think 0-8 against Alabama should be this glowing, this red sore spot on Dan Mullen's resume. A lot of teams don't beat Alabama. Alabama's been one of the top 5 teams in the country consistently since 2008. So it just is what it is. But when he does break through, it will be huge. Is the 9th time a charm? Is 0-8 going to turn into 1-8? I don't know. I don't like State's chances, but I don't hate them either. I don't love State's offense against Alabama's defense, but I do kind of like State's defense against anybody right now. The way they're playing, the way they've gotten better through the year. The average score of the Alabama-Mississippi State game in 8 games under Dan Mullen is 31-8. That's not great. That's not great. But I think next weekend in Starkville, Mississippi, it'll be a night game on ESPN. I can almost assure you of that. We will have our best matchup defensively versus Alabama's offense that we've had in Mullen's entire tenure. I think Todd Grantham is a guy who's not going to be scared of Alabama. He's not going to be scared of Jalen Hurts. Todd Grantham is a guy who came into Mississippi State as an elite defensive coordinator, a very good defensive coordinator, and has gotten even better this year. The Georgia and Auburn games were on the road. They weren't great. They weren't pretty. But State has improved defensively at every level since then. Alabama's going to try to run the ball. They're going to try to use play action, and they're very good. They're very good. That's why they're Alabama. That's why they're number one. But our defensive line can match up to Alabama's offensive line. It can. Our linebackers can match up to the Alabama running game. Our defensive backs, we'll see. We'll see. Defensive backs still get a lot of grief on my Facebook Live, and people still say our pass defense isn't very good. State's pass defense is first in the SEC and I think fourth in the country. Think about that. Think about it. It's just crazy. It's crazy how good that pass defense is. I think it was 120th in the country last year. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. God bless you, Peter Sermon, wherever you are and wherever you might be after Louisville fires you. I don't know if we can match up with our offense against Alabama's defense, though. I'm just not sure. You know, against Georgia, against Auburn, we didn't match up well against them, and physically, they were the two teams on the schedule so far that can match up to our level of physicality, and Alabama can too. Now, those were on the road. This one will be at home. Texas A&M played Alabama, not to a standstill, but pretty close to a standstill in College Station, and State's a much, much, much better team than A&M. That gives me some hope. Alabama really hasn't played a very good team yet. They haven't. They've killed everybody except for A&M, but they haven't played a good team yet. They'll play a decent team tomorrow night or 2 nights from now in LSU. Decent. They'll beat them by 30. I think Mississippi State's a good football team, and that'll be the first good football team Alabama's played all year. Doesn't mean they won't beat us by 20. It just means it'll be the stiffest test for Alabama yet. I've said on this show yesterday, there is no set formula to beat Alabama. When somebody on message board says, hey, you have to have this kind of quarterback or you have to have this kind of receiver, you got to have this to beat Alabama. No, you don't. There is no formula. If there was a magic formula, if there was a blueprint, more people would do it. You have to play your A-plus game, whatever it is. If it's Mississippi State's running game, if it's somebody's passing game, you have to play your A-plus version of that. Alabama has to play down a little bit, and you probably got to get lucky. That's the formula. And in that, there is no formula. Any team could do it. I mean, did Clemson have all the right pieces? No, they had Deshaun Watson. Did Ole Miss have all the right pieces in 2015? No. They got 5 turnovers. They got lucky. They had balls bouncing off of Alabama's helmets for touchdowns. I look back 2014, it was probably Mullen's best shot in Alabama at Tuscaloosa. And Dak Prescott probably played his worst game as a starter, threw 3 interceptions, played terribly, and State lost by 5. Dan Mullen can beat Alabama. He can. Mississippi State can beat Alabama. They haven't yet under Mullen. I would say they probably won't next weekend. But if anybody says Alabama's going to blow Mississippi State out, I don't think that's true. If anybody says Dan Mullen doesn't have what it takes to beat Alabama, I don't think that's true. This would change the program in a lot of eyes nationally. It's another big-time moment for Dan Mullen, another big-time opportunity. I'm cautiously optimistic. We'll see what happens. Speaking of Dan Mullen, the narrative around Dan Mullen will shift probably 9 to 10 times the next couple of weeks. It just will. National media has, national, regional, probably even in-state a little bit, has decided that Dan Mullen is a candidate for every single coaching job that comes open, particularly every good job. He's a candidate for Florida. He's a candidate for Tennessee. He'll be a candidate for Texas A&M when it comes open. He'll be a candidate for Auburn when it comes open. He's just a candidate at every good job, and that's fine. That tells you got a good coach. I think Dan Mullen's the second or third best coach in the SEC. He should be a candidate at all these places. But the national media says it because he's in Starkville, he's miserable. Because he's at Mississippi State, you can't win there. Well, Dan Mullen is proving both of those to be false. He's working on his 4th 9-win season at State, maybe even his 2nd 10-win season. And he seems to be as happy as a coach could be in a place. I've said many times, Dan Mullen will eventually leave Mississippi State. I'll tip my hat to him, and national media will say, see, I told you so. I told you he wanted to get out of there, even though the man stayed 9 years, and if he stays another, he stays a full decade. But the narrative around Dan Mullen will shift several times in the next few weeks. It's already shifting away from Florida. I think people are kind of realizing Dan Mullen in Florida, while it seems like a natural fit because he worked there, really aren't a fit. Florida's probably going to go another direction. Dan Mullen doesn't appear to have any interest whatsoever in going back to Gainesville. It's already shifting away from Florida. Florida fans are realizing it. State fans are realizing it. Media realizing that's probably not going to happen. So what will it do? Will people say, you know what, good for Dan Mullen. He's staying in Starkville, and we're going to leave it alone. No, they'll shift the narrative to Tennessee when Butch Jones gets fired. Then they'll shift it to Texas A&M. Then they'll shift it to Auburn. Then it'll shift to Ole Miss fans. When he decides to say, Ole Miss fans will start saying, nobody wants Mullen. See, we told you so. Let's get off the media for a second. Let's talk about Ole Miss's narrative about Dan Mullen. When jobs come open, thank you for the shark thing right there. When jobs come open, Ole Miss fans will tell you, everybody wants Mullen. You're going to lose him because he's dying to get out of Starkville. And as soon as he declines those jobs, as soon as he goes nowhere, when he stays, it becomes nobody wants Mullen. You're stuck with him. He's stuck in Starkville. The narrative here, the moral of that story is Ole Miss fans will say anything without regard to how dumb it makes them look. These narratives just don't add up to me. These narratives of Mullen trying to escape, trying to get out of Starkville, they're not true. They haven't been true for a while. The man tells you it's not true. He tells you how happy he is. But I get it. Tennessee job comes open. Texas A&M job comes open. All these jobs come open. They got to hire good coaches, right? Well, Dan Mullen's a good coach. But if Tennessee's such a great job, if Tennessee's so good at hiring, if Tennessee's somewhere Dan Mullen could be, why are their last three hires Lane Kiffin, Derek Dooley, and Butch Jones? If Florida could have had Dan Mullen so easily, why was its last hire Jim McElwain? Why was its hire before that Will Muschamp, both of which happened during Mullen's tenure? If Texas A&M is so desirable, why was their last hire Kevin Sumlin? All these jobs that we prop up as these huge, great jobs, and they are good jobs. We always assume coaches are just beating down their doors, and yet a majority of these positions are filled by mediocre coaches. Dan Mullen's not a mediocre coach. So the narrative can be what it'll be. What do I believe? Brandon Walker, host of More Cowbell. I believe Dan Mullen is returning for his 10th season at Mississippi State in Starkville in 2018. I believe it would be his best team yet in Starkville. I believe he's got a quarterback who can lead him to a 10 or 11 win season. He's got a defense that will be elite. He's got a defensive coordinator that, if he comes back, is the best he's ever hired at Mississippi State. He's got a recruiting class right now as the top one he's recruited in his entire time at Mississippi State, and next year's is even better. He's got everything he wants. He's got full command of the football program. And narrative can be what it wants. I think Dan Mullen will be in Starkville next year. UMass coming to town this weekend. UMass was one of those depressing games last year. You remember last year? It was in all the papers, guys. 2016 was a very depressing season. First, you lose to South Alabama. Then you look terrible against FCS teams like Samford. You lose to LSU by 3. You lose to BYU in overtime. You lose to Kentucky. And UMass, I think we beat them 47-35. They scored 35 points in front of about 10,000 people in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Well, 2016's over. Todd Grantham is here. Peter Sermon is gone. I just don't think this game will be very close. I think Mississippi State will handle their business. They will set up 7-2 against whatever and Alabama next week. They will set up a big-time game next week at home against Alabama. Here's what the UMass game is about to me. How many players can step up? How many players can have star moments? Not become a star, but have star moments on Saturday. We've seen guys this year. We've seen players like Jeffrey Simmons and Montez Sweat become a star throughout the year. They have given you star effort, star results. But against a team like UMass, I think a lot of players, first and second string, will be given those opportunities to step up and have star moments. It'd be great to see Keaton Thompson, the backup quarterback, be able to play at least half the game. Maybe even before it's out of range. Maybe even before it gets to where it's not in doubt anymore. It'd be great to see Keaton Thompson get some meaningful reps. It'd be great to see all three running backs in the rotation get meaningful carries, get a lot of carries. I thought Nick Gibson earned carries last week. I'm waiting for Kylan Hill to earn those same carries. It'd be great to see those guys get a lot of the workload. UMass, I think, has given up 35 sacks this year. I'd love to see guys like Corey Thomas, guys like Marquise Spencer join the sack party. Montez Sweat has provided a great pass rush lately. Now it's time for everybody else to step up and have their moment in this game. Wide receiver, Jamal Couch. I didn't see him last week. I saw Reggie Todd. Reggie Todd got open a couple of times. I liked what I saw out of him. I'd love to see him get some connections this week. I'd love to see more Couch, more Reggie Todd. Whoever needs to rest him. Martinez Rankin, if he's not 100%, if you want to knock the rust off, fine, but if he's not 100%, rest him. Donald Gray, you need him for Alabama. If he needs to rest him. So this is a well-positioned, not a bye week, but not exactly state against LSU, not exactly state against Auburn. So an early game, you go play, rest up the rest of the day, watch Alabama kill LSU at night, and get ready for the biggest game of the season next week. Quick hitters here. State's women who beat UConn last year in the Final Four. Morgan Williams with the shot. I don't have to tell you. We all know it. Morgan Williams with the what still might stand out as my greatest state fan moment of my entire life. That shot, that win, just huge, just big time. So we get to the next season. Morgan Williams is back. Victoria Vivians is back. Blair Schaefer's back. Tiara McCowan's back. You add in a top 10 class. And you get, since you finished second, you get at least number 1 or number 2 in the polls, right? No, because you're Mississippi State, you see, and you got to be number 7. I don't understand how the AP poll votes Mississippi State number 7. Beat UConn, lost to South Carolina. South Carolina deserves to be up there too. The coaches poll the other day got it pretty close to right. They had UConn 1, South Carolina 2, Baylor 3, State 4. I don't see how you get away from that. But State 7, that's just another slap in the face. These AP polls are out of control, man. Are you telling me there's 100 voters out there who know what they're talking about when it comes to women's basketball? They don't even know what they're talking about when it comes to football, a sport that I'm sure they watch more. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Around the SEC very quickly, A&M and Auburn is the game to watch this weekend, folks. It's not State UMass. It's not Alabama LSU. It's not the pillow fight that is Ole Miss at Kentucky. It is not the snore fest that is Florida against Missouri. It is A&M against Auburn. You know why? Because the coach that loses that game is going to be fired at the end of the season. The coach that loses that game is going to be fired. The coach that wins that game might be fired. But the coach that loses is definitely out. The coach that loses is headed to 7-5. And if Auburn's headed to 7-5 with all that talent, that guy needs to go. He needs to go. And if Kevin Sumlin finishes 7-5, he is going to go. A&M fans are ready to get rid of him anyway. So the Auburn A&M game, that's the game to watch this weekend in the SEC. 2-minute drill. I asked you for your questions. You could ask me about anything in the entire world of sports. You could ask me about anything in the entire wide world of anything. Doesn't have to be sports. MSU Dog in Georgia says, who are Cohen's top 5 to replace Mullen if he does decide to take another coaching job? So you can pretty much look at Florida. You can look at Tennessee. You can look at everybody else's top 5 and just put together a list from there. I mean, Neil Brown at Troy I like. Chad Morris. I wonder if Todd Grantham gets a look. I don't think Mullen's leaving. This is purely hypothetical, but I'll play along with hypotheticals. I don't have a problem with that. Would Todd Grantham get a look? I don't know. It's an interesting question. He's never gotten a look before, but his arrival has completely changed the defense and the culture of defense at Mississippi State. I'd be very interested to see if he'd get a look. Now, I'm sure if, again, we're playing hypotheticals that I don't believe are going to happen, if Mullen were to leave, I'm sure he would do whatever he could to take Grantham with him. But we'll see. S. Pearson 138 says, grade our coaches from 1 to 4, men's, women's basketball, baseball, and football. That's a great question because I think the 4, there is not a bad coach. In fact, I think it's the strongest group of 4 coaches State's ever had at one time. I would have to put, and the ones I'm going to put at 3 and 4 are great coaches, phenomenal coaches. But Ben Howland would be my number 4, just because he hasn't turned it around yet. And he's been to 3 Final Fours in his career. He's been to 5 Elite Eights. He's a great coach. Andy Cannizaro would be my number 3, just because he's still young in his career. He had a great turnaround this year. He did a phenomenal job. But I got Dan Mullen number 2, and then Vic Schaefer, by virtue of what he's done. I mean, he's raised a program that's never had any success whatsoever, ever. And he's turned them into a national title contender. So Vic Schaefer would be number 1. Patton Paris says, could this academic year be the best year in school history sports-wise? Very possibly. Let me think about it. Football's going to go 9-3, maybe 10-3, maybe 9-4, somewhere in there. We'll go to a very good bowl. Well, I mean, that's a really good start. Men's basketball, that's the outlier. I'm not sure about that one. Women's basketball will compete for the national title, and baseball will compete for the SEC title at least. So it could very well be in that. What is the gold standard right now? It's got to be somewhere in the late 90s, right? Let me open Facebook Live. What's the gold standard for academic years for Mississippi State? It has to be somewhere in the late 90s. See, 96 football wasn't very good, but basketball was. And then 97 went to the College World Series, but those aren't really tied together. I don't know. I'd have to think more about it. Definitely have to think more about it to really come up with what the gold standard is right now. But could this one be the gold standard? It definitely looks promising. It looks very, very promising. The Dak Knight says, when was the last time UCF was bowl eligible or relevant? So what has happened here is State was ranked 16th in the College Football Playoff Committee's poll. UCF was 17th, I think. UCF is undefeated. I think they've done a great job this year beating Memphis, beating Bethune-Cookman, beating Mainland High School down there in Daytona Beach, beating the Little Giants. UCF done a phenomenal job. They're going to lose their coach in about 5 minutes. They are definitely not relevant now. Somebody out there, somebody in Twitter world, Dan something or other, has gone on a tirade against Mississippi State. Why do you guys pay attention to that? He doesn't know what he's talking about. Why do you guys give him the time of day? I don't understand it. Any chance State overlooks UMass and it winds up being a close game again, MSU Dog in Georgia? No, none whatsoever. State's rolling. State is built this year to destroy these bad teams. You know, last year they weren't really built. They weren't that physical. This year, with Grantham, with the offensive line taking the step forward it's taken, State is built to just take the soul of these teams, and I think that's what will happen. Rob Hadaway says, what would be the best 80s cartoon for Netflix to redo and run with? Well, He-Man. I mean, that's easy. That is easy. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. I don't even have to think about that. That's not even a question. And also, the old one is on Netflix. Whoa, come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. As you know, when people walk into the studio and I'm doing a show, they have to apologize to the audience. So please apologize. There you go. Thank you. Go. That's Cesar. He's really that size, okay? That's not special effects.
Got him.
He got me. Reservoir Dog says, in a league populated with characters like Orgeron, Bielema, and Luke, how is it that you ended up with the nickname of an ogre? That's a good question. That's a good question. You look at these guys like Matt Luke, who looks like he just looks funny. Ed Orgeron, all those guys. How am I the ogre? I don't look like an ogre. I'm not even that big. I'm like 6'5", 2 something. So I don't know. Good question. Thank you for that. Does Coach Dan Mullen put up all the points he can in this year's Egg Bowl, or will he call off the dogs and take a knee yet again? Twist dog. I think Dan Mullen has proven time and again he is classier than you or I would be in that situation. I think last year, 55-20, we took a knee instead of going for 62-20. I would have gone for 62-20 and then kicked an onside kick. I think of 2011 when Ole Miss had its worst team. They were 2-10. State won 31-3. Could have won 101-3. But Dan Mullen is apparently a good guy. So I think history has shown us that he will, in fact, take it easy if he's given the opportunity. Reservoir Dog with a very important question. What's worse, irritating the roof of your mouth with Captain Crunch or burning it with a glazed Pop-Tart? I would say burning it. Burning it is more lasting, right? Burning it definitely is something that matters. It just stays with you a lot longer. John Wise says, why does the MSU fan base have a hard time staying all 4 quarters? I've been to other SEC programs games, and this isn't a problem for them. So I agree and disagree. It is a problem elsewhere. You look at Ole Miss, you look at Alabama, you look at other places. Unless it's a big-time game like Alabama LSU, the student section's usually going to leave or get half full after halftime. I don't know why. I don't know why that's cool to do. That's among the dumbest things I've ever seen. But it's not just a Mississippi State problem. It's a college football problem. So I don't really think we have any problems with our fans not staying that nobody else has. Reservoir Dog says, remember how worried we all were before the start of the season about field goal kicking. You know, it's amazing how worried we were about offensive line. It has turned out to be one of the best in the country. And how terrified we have been about kicker for some time because kicker showed us 4 or 5 years of bad kicking. And Jace Crispin walks in, and he's been perfect so far. That might be the most underreported story of the season or the most under-talked about story of the season. How great he's been, how reliable he's been. So, yeah, kicker is, I definitely remember that. All right, on the podcast, I'll drop you off. Facebook Live, I'm coming right back to you. We'll be back on Monday for the podcast in the wake of a victory against UMass and talking about the Alabama game. And I'm sure we'll be able to tie Dan Mullen to about 7 more jobs by then. Until next time on the podcast, my name, Brandon Walker. You've been listening to More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country. He got me with that chair thing. He definitely got me with that chair thing. I was not anticipating that.
You never anticipated.
I was not expecting that. Some people just want to beat the traffic, says John Blanton. Turn the mic off. It's in my ear. NFL coming, got Mullen since Dak. I don't think Dan Mullen's going to the NFL, if that's what you're saying. I definitely don't think Dan Mullen is going to the NFL. Boy, they liked that chair thing on Facebook Live. Somebody said that was glorious. Steve C says, "Ha." Oh, Steve, I don't know if you were here earlier. Steve C is here. Steve C, who provided this cowbell for the show from Battle Bells in Calhoun City. I was previously giving credit to Battle Bells, but Steve C is the guy who did it. Thank you, Steve. This is phenomenal. We love it, and it sets the show apart. Steve C, a great friend of the program. What's your favorite Chinese food? I just like fried rice. Love fried rice. Second choice is Thundercats, Matt Weisinger. Maybe. I never got into Thundercats. Ryan Sparks says 2001 is the only academic year where each of the big 3 sports won postseason games. Snow Bowl, basketball NIT, and baseball SEC tournament and 1 regional. Okay. That's a good year. That's a good year. Will any of our juniors declare for the draft? I don't think so. Montez Sweat will probably be the closest. Montez Sweat will be the closest, but I think we'll be okay. It's really not about losing players because you lose players every year. If you're a good program, you're going to lose juniors. It's about losing Todd Grantham. That's the biggest recruit for Mississippi State for next year. Why are the Bulldogs always getting no love when it comes to bowl predictions? Because they're Mississippi State and they're not supposed to go to a good bowl. That's what people think. And it's lazy, it's ingrained, and it is what it is. Both bells look great together. Thank you, Steve. You need to tell Terp to play your intro music guitar riff at the end of the show instead of going blank. At the end of the Facebook Live, I think that's what he's saying.
Like play the full intro again?
No, play the outro when we end the show. Instead of just going black screen, play the outro.
What?
How is that a hard concept to grasp?
What outro are you talking about?
Just the little guitar riff. The guitar, the one you play at the end of the podcast.
Like at the end of this? At the end, I'm doing other things. I'm editing your podcast right now. You'll be all right.
You guys see this? I mean, you see? Turn the mic off.
Nope.
Do you see what I deal with?
You want me to stop editing your podcast? I can stop if you want. I can let you do it all.
No, please continue to edit my podcast. Too many bells, they block the cup. There we go.
Can't block the cup.
Stop talking. I mean, woo. Okay. What will Keaton Thompson have available to work with on offense when he takes over? So, Keaton Thompson will have probably better receivers than Nick Fitzgerald has now. He'll have Malik Heath. He'll have Stephen Guidry for at least 1 year. He'll have the recruiting receiver looks like it's picking up. He'll have better receivers. He should have Kylan Hill as a junior and a senior. He should be loaded offensively. Keaton Thompson, I would say, will probably have a more loaded offense than Nick Fitzgerald has. What does State have to do to beat Alabama? We ask this question every day, don't we? This question gets asked every day. Get lucky, get some turnovers, get home field advantage, and hold on for dear life. Marcus Murphy, again, yeah, you're talking about him at receiver. I think he'll, again, be at safety. Do you think 2018 will be better than 2014? I think it'll be a better team. I don't know if it'll be a better season. It'll be a better team. I'm not sure we'll achieve as much. So, but it'll definitely be a better team with a much better defense. You should definitely bring Terp on camera when the podcast is over so he can be within arm's reach. Dan Glenn says that. You don't want Terp on camera.
You wish you had me on camera.
You don't want Terp on camera. He's a very unfortunate looking guy. Did you see Caesar earlier? Terp's shorter than him.
It's not even close to true.
He's very short. Terp's actually on camera right now. He's standing right here. That's how short he is.
Hey guys.
Bama 34, State 10. It's possible. It's possible. It's always a possibility that's going to happen. I mean, they're an elite team. I don't even know what to say. That's possible. 24-17 State over Alabama. Eric Edwards says that. Kane Martin says Dak was a Ninja Turtle for Halloween. Did you guys know Dak was a Ninja Turtle for Halloween?
Nope. Yeah, we knew that. How would I know that?
Landshark, pull up Dak as a Ninja Turtle. Can you find that somewhere on the internet?
I can do it.
Why do you guys act like I'm talking in French out here? You look at me.
You know, it's a process to pull.
I know that, but I'm just saying.
The TriCaster
I'm just saying if you got 2 or 3 minutes.
Maybe. All right, I'll do it.
Okay.
It's not going to be immediate though.
Okay.
I need like a couple minutes.
Okay. Stingray is going to pull this one out for us this year. Do not say Stingray on my show, please. Let me just go on a rant here. I saw a video put forth by Stingray. Stephen Ray, I believe is his name. And he's going to be on Comedy Central on Tosh.0. Guys, they're making fun of us. They're making us look ridiculous, and they're using this guy to do it. You understand that? You understand they're making fun of Mississippi State, and they're using this guy as the image of our fan base? Because that's what they're doing, and we just let it happen. We let them trot this guy out there as a cartoon character. I'm sure he's a good guy. I've heard people close to him that he's a nice guy, and that's fine. I'm glad that he likes Mississippi State and that he's a big fan. That's great. But Feinbaum didn't put him on because he's a typical Mississippi State fan. He put him on because of he makes us look bad. And so will Tosh. So just enjoy it. Enjoy these 15 minutes of fame. That's all I'll say. And I think I was being very, very conservative there. Should I have Stingray on this show?
Yes.
Maybe I should have Stingray on the show.
Steve.
That's not. Don't say that again. Bonnie Williamson Gable says Cesar is easy on the eyes. Cesar.
Ooh la la.
Oh, hey. What's up, ladies? Wow. No, he's really not. He's a terrible person. Terrible person. We know better than the image that other people set for us. Okay, some of you guys are saying stuff I can't say. Some of you guys are saying stuff I cannot say. Did you ever see Kiffin's Corner on Tosh.0? I've never watched Tosh.0 in my life. Well, I've seen clips of him on YouTube and stuff, and he seems funny. I just I've never watched it. I don't even know which channel Comedy Central is on my TV. I used to watch Comedy Central back when they had good shows, and this might be a good show, but Chappelle's show is not walking through that door. Reno 911 is not walking through that door. So what else you got? We got about 5 minutes. We can talk about whatever you like. We can talk about your favorite place to get fried catfish in Mississippi. Boy, I miss fried catfish in Mississippi. That's the one thing, folks. Look me in the eye, okay? Look dead into my retinal sockets here, okay? Here's what I have to say. You can't get fish anywhere else like you get in Mississippi. You can go, I don't care if you go to Alabama, Georgia, anywhere else in the South. Nobody fries it like we fry it in Mississippi. It doesn't taste the same. It's always breaded too lightly. It's just ridiculous. Land Shark, do you agree with this? You're not listening at all, are you? You're not even listening a little bit. You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you? How long do you see Todd staying? Well, I hope at least through next year. Drew Newell says Taylor Grocery, hands down. Isn't that in Oxford? Am I wrong on that? Brent Walker says Donnie Walker's Truman Creek. That is correct. That is the correct answer. The best fried catfish in the state of Mississippi belongs to Donnie Walker on Truman Creek Road in Point City.
You want that Dak? Oh, there it is. We got it.
Dak Prescott was Leonardo for Halloween. He's the leader of the Ninja Turtles. He's got the blue, just fitting. Why does Dak have such a... I don't know about that. Is that the other players there, or is he just going out with some kids?
With his boys.
Who are his boys? He's got boys out there?
Those are his friends.
Okay. Well, there's
trick-or-treating with his friends.
There's Dak as Leonardo, the Ninja Turtles. Donatello was the best Ninja Turtle. Just
Michelangelo.
No, Donatello. Easily. He was the smartest one. And the best catfish is at Middendorf's in Manchac, Louisiana. Okay. Never been there. Next time I'm in Manchac, Louisiana, I'll check it out. What do you say? Middendorf's. Fast Lane in West Point has great catfish. Doug and Hazel's in Columbus. The problem with Doug and Hazel's in Columbus is you have to go to Columbus. Best catfish is in Batesville, Mississippi, at a gas station next to Lowe's. Jerry's in Richland, Mississippi. The Catfish Cabin in Mississippi is awesome. What is Mississippi? You just make that up? What is that? Craven Catfish in Sherman, Mississippi. I've heard of that. I've heard it's really good. I've definitely heard of that one. Catfish at Home is the best. Anthony's in West Point and Obie's in Starkville has the best catfish. Obie's has catfish? I didn't know that. I know Anthony's has it. It's pretty dang good. But I don't like going to a really nice restaurant and having catfish. I like going to somewhere, like you just said, like a hole in the wall. Like that only your grandmother's cousin's friend knows about. Brandon, do you eat chitlins? Boy, or is this show almost over? Oh.
Hopefully.
Thank you, Turf. Do you eat chitterlings? I'm from West Point, Mississippi. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say about that. That's all I'll say. Kent's in Saltillo. Obie's catfish is not good, says Jason Cleveland. 41 Fish and Steak in Pontotoc, Mississippi. Rustic Kitchen in Four Corners, Mississippi. Anybody else getting hungry? Charlie's Catfish in Laurel. Anybody else getting hungry over here?
I'm getting hungry.
Nobody cares, Cesar.
What are you doing for lunch today?
I don't know. Where are you going?
I don't know.
You want to go to the nice cafeteria? You don't have time, do you?
I have 30 minutes.
That's not time. It takes 20 minutes to walk there.
I'll go with you.
No. What should I get at Anthony's Friday? Thank you for asking me this question. You can get the, whatever the specials are usually elite. They're usually great. So whatever specials you could order, you go with that, then you'd be just fine. But if you wanted to do catfish, you do catfish with crawfish sauce on top. Delicious. Get you an appetizer of fried crawfish tails. They're great. And I usually get the ribeye. The ribeye and some mashed potatoes and something, nice salad is always very good. But you can't go wrong at Anthony's. Everything's good. Oh, boy. Boy, oh, boy. Boy, I just can't. What is my favorite place? To do what? Eat catfish? Fish Shack in West Point, Mississippi. The Fish Shack. But you can't go. You have to call me if you want to go, because I don't know if outsiders are allowed. Catch them catfish out of Grenada Lake and cook them at home. That's the best. All right. Well, this show took a turn. That's what this show did. Cesar, come here. This show definitely took a turn. Is he coming? I asked.
Yes.
Okay. Rowdy's in Vicksburg for catfish and hush puppies. Come on. Come here. All right. Go ahead and ring the cowbell for him. Ring it up high.
Really loud.
It is loud. No, it's terrible. Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. No, a lot. Thanks. All right. That was Cesar. He is the worst. He rang the cowbell, so I... This show went off the rails and it never really recovered, did it? Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this show. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. We'll be back next week. We will definitely be back after a UMass win, and we'll talk about Alabama, and I'm sure the narrative on Dan Mullen will change 5 times between now and then. So until next time, my name is Brandon Walker. This has been More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SECCountry.com.